Well, hello there, folks. Welcome to Porch Step Stories. I am so glad that you chose to be with us today. Our first offering is my book, which happens to be Journey into Darkness, The Gathering Storm. Now, I don't want that title to scare you off. It isn't dark. It's not a dark story. I want you to be able to enjoy this story because you know what? I think you will feel better for having listened to it. Now, granted, this is going to take you quite some time to get through this story because it's 3 large volumes. But boy, oh boy, do you have some adventures awaiting you. Make sure you have your track shoes on so you can keep up with us as we go along. Here we go. Sometimes the coming of fall is a pretender and sometimes it isn't. Today, Ben felt like there was no pretending. The nip in the air was a precursor of things to come. The cooler air had more of a bite as it pierced through his light summer clothing, while he pedaled up and down the streets of the gently rolling hills of San Bruno, California. The sound of the clanking bicycle chain reminded him, he needed to tighten it before it fell off at an inopportune time. Was there ever an opportune time? Life now seemed to, capture every unused minute, leaving little time for the mundane things in life, such as some simple bicycle maintenance. Ben enjoyed his late afternoon ride from school to his part-time job at the Jameson store. It gave him time to think about things. It was rare when he was by himself long enough to think clearly without distractions. Lately, there was an overabundance of things to think about. Unless Ben had practice or a track meet after school, his best friend, Brent, usually bicycled with him part of the way. Today was one of the better school days because it had ended on a high note. He was particularly pleased because his coach said he was peaking at exactly the right time, which would give him a boost in the finals. He'd done particularly well this afternoon in the track meet against their arch rival, Champion High School. Ben's coach gave him many accolades for his performance, which made him happy and was a big boost in his ego. Brent would have stayed and watched him run at the track meet after school, but today he wasn't feeling well and he went home early. Darn it, I need to stop dawdling. Mr. Jameson is expecting me at the store as I promised, but this old bike, it won't respond to my wishful thinking if I don't put in the effort to pedal faster. At this rate, I'll never be there on time. The situation irked him because there was no excuse for it other than that his mind was drifting to something else rather than the task at hand. Lately, his focus wasn't on what it should be. More often than not, he caught himself thinking about Julianne. She was too much. She was a beautiful distraction, and he found his adolescent mind daydreaming about her and more often, as it were. I wish I could compartmentalize my brain so I could hold my thoughts about her in a place where I will think about her only when it is convenient. Recently, things had begun to change from a friendship to something more, at least in his mind. Julianne was Brent's younger sister, and she had been around for as long as he could remember. Brent was still his best friend, and that would never change. But recently, and without warning, his feelings for Julianne had become a warm and comforting place he wanted to go in the recesses of his mind way too often. However, these last several months he was becoming worried about Brent. Perhaps worried was, perhaps overstating the matter, and concerned was a better way of thinking about it. Anyway, he had a feeling there was something wrong with Brent's health. but his family never spoke about it. Brent would dodge Ben's questions whenever he brought up the subject of his health. Today was another example. Brent was sick without warning and quickly went home. And it wasn't like this, was the first time either. As he rode his bicycle along, he was so entrenched in deep thought that he paid no attention to Mr. Holmes' terrier running alongside him, trying to bite his leg off. Probably his characterization of the pooch's intent was on the dramatic side, but it was how he felt. It seemed like the dog waited in the same darn place every day, listening for the clanking sound of the bicycle and lurking just behind a white picket fence to dart out and chase him. It had become a rather old ritual, and there were times he wanted to just take his foot off the pedal and kick the pesky pooch in the snout. He gave it serious consideration, but in the end he decided to ignore him once again. Brent wasn't sure if it was him, but he was beginning to think Brent was changing. Most of his life, Brent had not taken life so seriously. Ben, on the other hand, had the dubious honor of being known as Mr. Serious. During his short ride afternoon, Ben was more prolific than usual in his daydreaming. He quickly realized he needed to stop this sort of reverie because he was nearing the Jameson store, and his thoughts needed to be redirected to the here and now. The rather recent death of his papa had caused a dramatic change in Ben's life. His mama didn't complain, but he knew she was hurting emotionally, and momentarily since his papa's ultimate passing, Mrs. Jameson hired Ben to work in his store, along with Mr. Jameson after school, knowing it would help him alleviate some financial concerns. As strange as it sounded, Brent worked harder when Ben was there. At least that was Mr. Jameson's observation, and one of the reasons he gave when he asked Ben to work after school at his store. As for Ben, he believed all the reasons Mr. Jameson gave for wanting his service around the store were valid, but he thought it was the unspoken one which was the real reason. It was the compassion he had for Ben and his mama. Working for Mr. Jameson after school was a natural fit. He couldn't do better than to work for his best friend's dad. Mr. Jameson once said he considered him to be, his second son. Ben always thought it was the ultimate compliment. Knowing someone could love you like a member of their own family brought feelings of comfort, especially when he had lost his papa, whom he idolized. Parking his bike in its usual place in the alley between Mr. Jameson's store and another building, he gave himself the once-over, checking to make sure he looked presentable before he opened the store's back door and walked inside. "So, how was your day at school, Ben?" "Things went great today," he said, as his mind snapped back to the present. He closed the back door behind him and noticed Mr. Jameson precariously perched on a ladder, neatly stacking cans of pork and beans on a shelf. "Just my observation, Mr. Jameson, but that's awfully rickety ladder you're standing on. That's the kind of job you should have left for me." "Did you have a track meet today?" Mr. Jameson inquired as he briefly stopped stocking cans to hear his response. "Yes, we did, and I believe my performance, I think it was adequate anyway." "How is Brent doing this afternoon?" Ben asked, hoping to change the subject and have his immediate concern about the more than occasional bouts of illness Brent was having addressed. "He's a little better. It helped for him to rest this afternoon," Mr. Jameson replied, giving no details and clearly ending the conversation as he resumed stocking the shelves. "Oh, before I forget, Julianne wanted to know if you were working today. I told her I expected you later this afternoon, depending on your track meet." Thanks, Ben said in surprise as he snatched a juicy red apple from the barrel and took a large bite. I already put a nickel on the cash register for the apple. You know I don't charge family members for having an apple, for crying out loud, Mr. Jameson chuckled. I didn't think Julianne was coming over until tomorrow, Ben said, secretly thinking it as more than fine with me if she came by today. I asked if I could relay a message, but she said she would see you tomorrow. You know, she can be rather indecisive at times. Even so, Ben wondered why. Why does she want to speak to me in person? Ben, please help Mrs. Chandler with her box of groceries, Mr. Jameson called from atop his perch on that rickety ladder. Sure thing, Mr. Jameson, Ben replied politely. I'll get right on it. My goodness, Mrs. Chandler said, looking surprised as Ben literally flung her box of groceries onto his shoulder and proceeded to walk out of the store, chatting with her while still chomping on his apple. Excuse me for my bad manners. I should have put the apple down. This box of groceries isn't heavy. I do a lot of exercising, including the bench press at school. I see it's paying off, she said, looking up from her black purse in frustration. Oh, my goodness. These purses, well, they get heavier all the time. I am so sorry for making you stand there holding that heavy box because I can't find my darn keys, she said, sounding exasperated. No worries, Mrs. Chandler. I'm sure you will. He secretly thought she was going to dig a hole in the bottom of her purse looking for them. Goodness sakes, here they are. I put them in my pocket. This is a lesson for you. Never get old. I hope I look as good as you when I'm 25, Ben replied with a silly grin on his face. You are extra kind. I haven't seen 25 for about 25 years, she said with a good-natured smile and a glint in her eyes. I hear you and Julianne Jameson are sweet on each other, she announced, rather matter-of-factly. I know you and Brent have been best friends for a long time, but I didn't know about Julianne. Brent and I have been best friends forever. I think Julianne might take issues with the sweet part, though, Ben said, with a chuckle. You're such a nice boy. Thank you so much for your help. You always lift my spirits whenever I come into the store. Tell me, Mr. Jameson, he needs to have a good raise, don't you think? Thanks, but I think the only thing I'll get out of him is a weird look telling me I'm already overpaid. Oh, no, Ben thought, as he watched Mrs. Chandler turn the black sedan onto the main street without bothering to stop at the stop signs. Mr. Jameson, you know, Mrs. Chandler is going to get creamed one of these days if she doesn't learn to stop at stop signs. She just ran it again. I hate to say it, but that's not a first for her. I agree. I've been watching her do it for years now. Please, sweep up around here a bit. The candy supplier said I need to get my order in today if I want Halloween candy in October. It's not my favorite holiday. It just causes a lot of work for me the day after because, I have to clean all those windows. I know you and Brent would never soap windows on Halloween, Mr. Jameson said sarcastically. That's one of those Halloween traditions I wish it would just fade away. Mr. Martell, the supplier at Sweet Treat Candy, told me part of the reason for the shortage of candy this year is because they could not get as much corn syrup as usual. He said Japan's aggressive military is causing problems over in China, which is creating a scarcity of cane sugar. Darn those Japanese, they need to mind their own business. Whoops, there I go again. Speaking before thinking, I find I'm getting more upsettable lately, Mr. Jameson complained. Don't worry. I understand your irritation with trying to run a business while Japan is meddling in the affairs of other countries, which causes us to have shortages. Our current discussions in history class often revolve around the current hostilities between Japan and China, which they recently invaded. There is a fear it will soon boil over into other countries. Ben, I know you haven't been here long, and I do appreciate you coming so quickly after your track meet. Please tidy up the counter a bit and then stop by the house. I know Brent wants to talk to you about something, probably Halloween. I'm sure the two of you have some things planned, but I'm not sure I want to know about them. Believe it or not, I was a boy once, and boys are just boys. What else can I say?" he chuckled. "You know what, Mr. Jameson? It just dawned on me. I think I aggravated Brent. And you know what? I might have wounded his pride the other day when I beat him in a game of 21, Ben said with a mischievous chuckle. "Brent, more often than not, schools me on anything to do with basketball, so I think I was justified." "Well, I don't suppose a little humility ever hurt anyone, let alone Brent," Mr. Jameson said nonchalantly. "It's all good. I was going to stop by your house anyway. I'm sure I'll find out what he wants. I can't stay long because Mom is expecting me home to help her tonight as well. Tell her hi for me. I suspect she has a touch of that pesky flu. I hope she continues to mend quickly. If we can do anything, don't just hesitate to ask." "I will. I'll see you tomorrow, if not sooner," Ben agreed, as he put the key in the lock for Mr. Jameson and shut the door behind him. He quickly fell into a stupor of deep thought as he turned from the steps of the Jameson store and cut across the nearby alley where he had parked his bicycle a little earlier. Ben had nothing but warm feelings for the Jameson family, and especially for his kinship he felt with Brent, who had been his best friend for longer than he could remember. It was as if Brent had always been in his life. Since he didn't have any brothers or sisters of his own, Brent's friendship was very dear to him. He had a few living relatives, but they lived far away. Lately he had become uneasy about his situation with the Jamesons because he felt somewhat betrayed. It really wasn't so much about the Jamesons or Julianne. To be clear, it was because of Brent's secretiveness. He decided the word betrayed was probably too harsh a term. However, he knew Brent was holding back on something important. He believed Brent's parents knew what it was, but they weren't saying. He was so fixated on his thoughts he didn't realize he'd hidden his bicycle nearly to the Jameson home. He didn't even remember getting on his bike, but here he was in their driveway. Their home was a well-maintained, attractive two-story with green shutters on a white Shaker home. The yard was usually well maintained by Brent, but Ben had noticed lately Julianne was mowing the lawn. Since fall was officially here, the once green lawn was speckled with shades of rust, yellow and even red leaves which had fallen from the trees to their front yard. As Ben walked up to their home, he noticed Julianne trimming a bush by the front door. "Why is she so dolled up today? Julianne looks lovely with her long brown hair and gentle, sweet smile. She definitely makes the scenery around here more beautiful." "What's up, Julianne? I thought this was Brent's job." "You're right," Julianne replied. "I thought it'd be nice to him for a change. Remember how he always complains about me not being nice to him? I just decided to do this on the spur of the moment. Looks like you're wearing too nice of an outfit to be trimming bushes." I was too lazy to go in and change." "Ben, would you mind slipping your bike over on the other side of the driveway would be better." "Happy to do it," Ben replied as he immediately put his bicycle in its new parking spot. "By the way, your dad said you'd been to the store, I should say, looking for me." "Yes, there's something I want to ask you," Julianne said, with a twinkle in her eyes. "I didn't expect to see you today, so I thought I would talk to you tomorrow. But today works." Sure thing, ma'am. I'm at your service, he grinned, making an artful bow. I'm not sure the occasion requires this much formality, she replied, appearing amused. Anyway, would you give me the pleasure of your company at the Sadie Hawkins dance 2 weeks from this coming Friday? Who the heck is Sadie Hawkins? Ben replied with a quizzical look on his face. I suppose if you know her, she must be in the who's who with the girls at school. I hope this doesn't come to be too big of a disappointment, but I really don't know who she is or anything about her. It's just the name of the girls' choice dance. It's something of a tradition as far as I know. Okay, I think I understand. No matter. It sounds like a good deal for me, Ben replied, giving Julianne a solid handshake to seal the deal. I'll give you one thing, Ben. You're the only boy I know who doesn't want more than a handshake from a girl. I never said anything about not wanting a little peck on the cheek, Ben smirked. Sometimes it's a distinct advantage being such a good friend with your entire family. Well, it will give you something to look forward to another time, Julianne said, as she gave Ben a gentle poke. You know, we girls can't give out all of our mystical treasures at once. Here you go, a small present for me, Julianne said as she plopped a bundle of branch clippings squarely in Ben's outstretched arms. Please take them around back and, put them in a pile by the trash can. I'll let you go now. You'll find Brent stretched out on the floor listening to the radio. By the way, he's a bit on the touchy side about his loss to you in that overrated game of 21 the other day. I'd like to know what this is all about, Ben thought, as he opened the back porch door. I'm sure it has nothing to do with being upset about losing a basketball shootout, but I have no idea what it might be that's bothering him. His mind began conjuring up worst-case scenarios as he stood on the doorstep of the Jameson home, with Julianne still tidying up a few more clippings. I don't know who they think they're kidding. I've been around here long enough to know there's something wrong medically with Brent. Why won't anyone tell me? I'm his best friend, and there is nobody else outside his family he values more than me. Why do they always change the subject when I ask Brent or his parents about his health? They become defensive and positively refuse to answer my questions. I just need to let it go. I've got to get out of the habit of thinking about it. When and if they want me to know, they'll tell me. If it was me, I would tell my best friend about it. At least I think I would. So I have to go in there, put on a happy face, and pretend everything is wonderful. So, are you not going in or not? Julianne asked, because he was still standing on the steps without going inside. Oh, I was just thinking about how lucky I am because I get to go to a dance with the prettiest girl in the whole school. He knew that wasn't what was holding him up, but it seemed to please her, which made him happy. I caught you, Ben teased, being a lazy butt as usual. You're all sprawled out on the floor like Julianne said you'd be. Aren't you just a pitiful sight, eating popcorn and drinking pop while your poor sister is trimming a bush in one of her best dresses? Say, what? Brent said, looking confused. Well, Juliana's trimming the bush by the front door. I did assume you knew. Dang. I'm supposed to do that. Why is everybody doing stuff for me lately? Don't they think I'm capable of doing my own chores? So I've been a little sick lately. What of it? Brent moaned grumpily. There I go, ruining your surprise, Ben frowned. Speaking of Julianne, she just invited me to the Sadie Hawkins dance. Poor girl, Brent laughed, seeming to lighten up a bit, even though He was choking on a piece of popcorn. "She must be desperate." All kidding aside, everybody, and I do mean everybody, knows Julianne. Well, she has a thing for you. "Come on, Brent, she does not," Ben said shyly, with feelings and undertones of wishful thinking permeating his whole body. "Did I hear my name being taken in vain?" Julie asked, as she closed the front door behind her. "It's your beloved brother giving me the business," Ben said sarcastically. "Brothers? What's a sister to do?" Julianne smiled. "One thing for sure, I'm stuck with him. I can't de-brother him now." "Gosh, is that even a word?" Julianne paused as she stopped to retie the red ribbon in her brown hair that had worked its way loose while she was doing the chores she had just completed. "I'm not sure," Ben chuckled out loud at the prospect of Julianne de-brothering Brent. "So, now you two are taking turns torturing me?" Brent moaned. "Why are either one of you here?" "I'm just passing through," Julianne smirked. "Well, you don't look that sick to me, Brent, lying there on the floor with all the comforts of life. So what kind of a fake illness did you come up with today so you could miss school and my track meet, by the way? You could teach a class on how to fake an illness. It would be overflowing with attendees." "Who said I was faking?" Brent growled. "If you're not faking, what terrible disease do you have?" Ben asked, quickly realizing he shouldn't have. "For your information, Dr. Black was here, and he said I have a fever." "Oh, poor boy, you have a fever?" Ben said mockingly, figuring he needed to make light of his misstep, but soon realized he needed to just frickin' shut his mouth. "Hey, old buddy, I'm sorry you're feeling under the weather. I really missed you at school. I did fairly well at the track meet. I missed my one-man cheering section." "It's okay, Ben. I know you're giving me the business. Please go ask Mom for a refill of popcorn. Please, pretty please." "I heard that," Mrs. Jameson said, pausing in the doorway. "If you don't mind, I was wondering how your track meet went today. I've heard you're as quick as a stiff wind." "I don't think I would characterize myself that way, but I guess I was rather good. I won my event. I was just telling Brent I missed the one-man cheering section. I'll be there next time, or my name's not Brent Jameson." "No," Ben thought, "it's con artist Brent Jameson." "Were you about to say something, Ben?" "Who, me?" Brent replied, looking surprised. "Would you like some popcorn?" Mrs. Jameson asked as she sat down, the linen she was putting away. "Thanks, but I've got to be on my way. I told Mama I would do some chores for her after school today." "Speaking of chores, Mom, Julianne did mine for me. She trimmed the bush by the front door." "Well, that was nice of her. Did you tell her thanks?" "No, but I will the next time she pops in. I am capable of doing my chores. She shouldn't have done them." "You and I both know you are better off," his mom said, as her voice trailed off, realizing Ben was there, and she shouldn't have said anything. "If you really want extra chores, I have some at my house. I'll be more than happy to let you do them," Ben said. "We have bushes, so you won't miss out on anything." Ben quickly realized he had done something right because he diffused the awkwardness of the situation rather quickly. "While you've been home licking your wounds, guess what happened to me?" "Oh, I don't know. Maybe Mr. Holmes' terrier finally bit you." "Good guess, Brent, but no." Mrs. Jameson asked, "So, are you going to stand there looking silly, or are you going to tell us?" "Julianne invited me to the Sadie Hawkins dance." "Ben, seriously, you've been out in the sun too long. You just barely told me a few minutes ago." "You're right. I know I'm right," Brent replied mockingly. Mrs. Jameson, I'm really flattered. Brent, there are going to be tons of unhappy guys because she asked me. She's definitely the prettiest girl in the school, Ben chirped, sounding incredibly pleased. Go for it. I thought you were going to tell me something exciting and important, Brent replied, seeming unimpressed. The best you have to offer is that you're going to a dance with Julianne? She could never be as exciting as spending an evening, with me and a good old game of chess. She's been planning to ask you for weeks, Mrs. Jameson smiled, thinking to herself, it's good to see Brent perk up a bit, even if it is only for a minute or two. How come I'm always the last to know? Ben laughed good-naturedly, trying to extend the moment of light-heartedness a little longer. You're not, Brent said. I didn't know about it either. Anyway, my life doesn't revolve around Julianne, so I'm good with it. Never you mind, Brent, Mrs. Jameson chuckled. You're her brother. You don't count. Sorry I have to duck out on all this fun, but I really need to get home. Well, old buddy, don't let the door hit you on the way out, Brent chided. Are you sure you can find your way home? I'm a little concerned since you repeated the same story to me twice in the space of a few minutes. Here I thought I was addle-brained. Brent, you still hold that title, Ben said as he left. What was that all about? Everyone was jovial, but there was an unmistakably tense feeling in the room. What are they hiding? Why won't anyone tell me? I just don't understand. He'd barely made it to the front gate when he heard a troubled yell coming from inside the Jameson home. It was unmistakably Julianne. It sounded like she was startled by something. It stopped at the front gate, listening intently, and heard Julianne say, Mom, you need to come right in now. He instinctively turned around and thought about going back inside. Don't act impulsively. You've got to go home. Some things are best left alone. I apologize, Mr. Jameson. I didn't see you standing there. My mind was elsewhere, Ben said, looking directly at him. I gathered you must have been thinking about something rather intently. Are you coming inside? No, I was just leaving and daydreaming about what Julianne asked me. She invited me to the Sadie Hawkins dance. Ben knew it wasn't the truth, but it was the best he could come up with at a second's notice. Oh, yes, indeed. I've known about it for quite some time, but of course I wasn't about to spoil Julianne's surprise and let the cat out of the bag. Then I'd have been in the doghouse. Seems like we're stuck talking about dogs and cats, Mr. Jameson laughed. Can I help you? Ben asked, finally noticing he was carrying a fairly heavy box. It's fine. It's only a short distance to the door. I think I better put my coat over the box. It contains things I don't want damp, and it's starting to sprinkle, he said, removing his coat and placing it over the box. I'll see you tomorrow after school. Sure thing. I'll be on time. I don't have anything going on after school. That's great. I'll get the store's Halloween decorations out, and you can put them up. That was certainly a missed opportunity, Ben thought, as he quickly glanced over his shoulder and noticed Mr. Jameson was balancing the heavy box on his knees while trying to open the front door. Whatever's in that box, he didn't want me to know. From the Japanese postage stamps, I assume it's something he ordered from Japan. I don't know why a package from Japan should bother me, but why did he cover it up so fast? It was just threatening to sprinkle, but hadn't started yet. He orders goods for his store all the time from Japan, but I haven't seen him bring them home before. For heaven's sakes, I didn't walk here. I brought my bicycle. It's parked by the side of the house. What am I thinking? Now I've got to go back and get it. This could be awkward if anybody's looking out of a window. Ben quickly grabbed his bicycle and hurried on his way. Recent events really they confused him because he was best friends with Brent, and he knew he was highly thought of by the rest of the family. As he coasted down the final stretch of the road to his home, he thought, "What's going on? And why don't they want me to know about it? Should I mention anything to Mama? Perhaps I should." Just as quickly as the idea came, he changed his mind. I better not do it now. He didn't want his Mama feeling obligated to say something to the Jamesons, which, it could be awkward and might cause both families problems. Perhaps this is only my mind imagining things. No, there's something unmistakable about the feelings I've had lately when I've been with their family. I shouldn't be concerned, but I am. The shortness of the late October days gave an unmistakable feeling that winter was just around the corner. When he arrived home, it became clear it was harder and harder for him to park his bicycle in the garage by the house because the light from the sun was fading fast. At first, Ben failed to notice a shadowy figure sitting on a stool on his front porch. When he did notice, he called to the person, but there was no reply. So quickly, but with an air of caution, Ben rushed to the porch and the unrecognized figure sitting there. But to his amazement, it was just a broom standing by the stool. Boy, oh boy, I need to calm down. I need to be grateful for this exceptionally fine day. I won my event and Julianne asked me to the Sadie Hawkins dance. I have so many things to be grateful for. So even though I'm concerned, I shouldn't get so upset because I know Brent is having problems, but no one will tell me what they are. Surely what I encountered at the Jameson home shouldn't get me down. This day has been eventful and given me food for thought, interpretation and confusion of both past and present events. Come on, Ben, you've got to be yourself. Together, I'll get it together, he thought. It's imperative for me to help Mama and stop being so darn paranoid. There you are, my son. I wondered what was taking you so long. Let me think, she said, looking over the top of her glasses, askance at him. I bet you've been at the Jameson home. Am I correct? Yes, I stopped to visit with Brent for a little while since he left school early today because he got sick. My goodness, what's ailing him? I'm not sure, Mama. Apparently he has had a fever the last day or so. I don't know. Dr. Black saw him earlier today. What's new with you, Mama? Ben inquired as he scooted his books to the corner of the dining room table. Put those books on your bed instead of cluttering up the table. Sorry, Mama. I've been preoccupied with things today. What things? She said, setting down her knitting in her lap and paying closer attention to her son. He could see by the confused and curious look on her face that she was concerned and would like him to share more about what was bothering him. Well, like I already said, Brent home went sick, so I stopped by to visit them. But, he doesn't want to tell me what's wrong. Then Julianne invited me to the Sadie Hawkins dance. Mr. Jameson wants me to decorate the store for Halloween, and I competed in my event and the track meet too. I guess that's about the sum total of all of it. I see, his Mama replied, taking her cue from his brief answers that Ben was somewhat irritated with some particulars of the day. Ah, so the Sadie Hawkins dance is still around? I haven't heard that term since I was a girl. Perhaps she had aged gracefully, she giggled. It almost makes me feel like a schoolgirl again, just to hear about the Sadie Hawkins dance. So you know all about Sadie Hawkins, Mama? Yes, but what is this about Brent? She asked as her brow began to wrinkle. I don't know. He's not contagious. I better call Doris and find out what I can do. It's okay, Mama. I'll let you know tomorrow how he's doing. Ben thought he'd placated his Mama's concerns about Brent only moments earlier, but obviously he had done nothing of the sort. Dang it! I already decided earlier I wouldn't mention anything about Brent, and then I do this. It all sounds rather eventful, Ben, but you haven't told me how you did at the track meet. So you want to know whether I won or lost, he said with a smile. Sadly, I lost big time. One thing you're not particularly good at is lying, my son. I can see by your smile that you're happy with your performance. Trying to lie about it and smile about it all at the same time, well, it just doesn't work. Since it's show and tell time, Mama, why don't you tell me what you're knitting and what you've been doing today? Ben asked as he slid an oak chair from underneath the table and straddled it. Seems like an uncomfortable way to sit. Oh, well, whatever suits you. Ben, before we talk, please do me the distinct honor of removing your baseball cap. I am afraid your hair never gets any oxygen. In fact, I've heard of men who have gone bald because they've worn their hats too much, she said, with an uncomfortable smile. I'm sorry, Mama. It's grown attached to my head, Ben said, removing his hat and, placing it on the chair next to him. Let me think for a moment. You want a quick rundown of my day. First, laundry and then ironing. Second, cleaning and house and some grocery shopping. Third, I listened to an Edward R. Murrow broadcast from London. Apparently the bombing raids on London and surrounding cities are getting worse by the day. The German Chancellor Adolf Hitler is a terrible person. I don't know whether President Roosevelt will be able to keep us out of that war. Ben let his mind wander as he gazed through tired eyes at the gentle 5'0" Mama of his, with short black hair speckled in gray and tied in a bun as she rambled on. Her neatly pressed pink flowered everyday house dress with lace on the sleeves was deceiving. She was really a well-read, intelligent woman who could fit in easily with the upper crust of society in spite of her house dress and tired eyes. I heard something about that today. I was standing just outside the faculty room wanting to talk to Mr. Thompson about social studies. The radio was on, and I overheard the commentator saying it was getting really bad for the Chinese because of their escalating conflict with Japan. It's such a crazy world, son. I hope our country doesn't get involved with more than supplying the necessities of life to warring countries. I can't get over the cruelty and inhumane things men do to each other. Can you imagine all the orphans on both sides of this conflict? Think of the sadness and sorrow of all the people in those countries. I feel sad for all of us, Ben, because I believe everyone's life will be touched by this ongoing conflict. How do you feel about the fighting war brings with it? She asked, as she set down her knitting, lost in thought while contemplating all the misery war brings with it. I'm sorry, Mama. I'm afraid I've been caught up in my own life, probably to the point of unselfishness. Or I should say, selfishness. You can see how tired I am. I know for sure I need to be a better friend. A lot of what you say worries me too. You are such a compassionate person, Ben said as he knelt beside her chair and put his arms around her neck. I know this might sound odd to you, Mama, but I've always thought of you as such a learned and well-read person. I can still remember beautiful visual pictures of Papa as he just sat and listened to your words of wisdom. He told me when I grew up I needed to find a lady, well, just like you. There were times when I didn't quite understand what he meant. However, I see much clearer now. Your thoughts and wisdom have taught me a great deal more about what Papa always saw in you. So it was with your Papa, Ben. He always told me he could see the kindness, joy, and love in you, which he said he always found in me. Whenever he said those kind words to me, I always felt special and loved. I miss him so very much, my son. He always brought out the absolute best in me. I feel so lacking since he left us. Some people don't think of the one they are married to as their best friend. Ben, it was so wonderful to be married to my best friend, and then bring you into our family, who expanded my love even more, than I ever thought possible. He could feel the warm, tender touch of his mama's hand as she reached down to where he was sitting next to her on the floor and grasped his hand tightly for a moment. The wrinkles on her hands gave her age away, but the wonderful tenderness of her heart and the pure love she had for him, and actually for everyone she knew, overshadowed everything else. He was fully aware of the infirmities which were taking their toll on his beloved mama. Ben feared he might be left alone in this world with nobody to love and care about him. Of course, there were the Jamesons who thought of him as a second son and loved and cared for him, but he knew they couldn't match the love his mama had for him. He'd always known he was blessed to have such good, loving, and wonderful parents. Ben knew from observing those in his sphere that most people were not as blessed as he had been all of his life. He and his mama continued to reflect on their lives as the two of them sat hand in hand, mother and son, reflecting on life's experiences and blessings. It was one of those rare moments Ben would always remember fondly. It came at the end of a grueling and very perplexing day. Yet the beauty and serenity of visiting with his mama for a few minutes lifted his spirits and helped him realize what he most cherished. Their short and simple conversation invited the Spirit into their hearts. Ben knew he looked at things much differently than most of his friends since Papa had died, because he had to treat things more seriously and be the man of the house. Sometimes when talking with friends it became a bit uncomfortable because he was so serious and looked at events from an adult perspective instead of a teenager's viewpoint. Happily for him, Julian often commented that this character trait was a beautiful part of his personality, which drew others to him. Ben, we can't sit here all night. I have supper ready for you, and it won't be fit for a cat to eat if you don't eat it now. I think not, Mama. I've never known Ziggy to be fussy. Mr. Jameson told me just the other day that some of the commodities for their store are getting hard to come by. Did you already know? As a matter of fact, I do, Mama. Mr. Jameson mentioned just today that he needs to get his order in for Halloween candy very soon. He said the candy company indicated some of the ingredients used to make candy are getting hard to purchase. Ben, sit down while I get you a plate of food. Mama, you don't need to wait on me. I'm old enough to get things myself. Let it be, Ben. I enjoy doing it. It reminds me of when I fixed dinner for you and your papa. He was always so appreciative of anything I did for him. I miss him so. The way I figured it, you will gain a greater appreciation for your own wife someday, when she does things for you. I sometimes wonder if you and Julianne will marry. You know, you could do worse than Julianne Jameson. How come people are making so much out of my friendship with Julianne lately? I don't see where much has changed. Yes, she asked me to the Sadie Hawkins dance, but it is the one dance all year where girls are supposed to ask boys. I will admit, I like others seeing Julianne and me together as a great couple. This day has given me so much to think about. So are there any more biscuits left? Ben inquired, noticing his plate was empty. Ben's mama looked at her son thoughtfully, turned to a warm pan still on the stove, and placed 2 golden brown biscuits on his plate. So just as surely as the pleasantries and colorful beauties of fall would change to the rather harshful landscape of winter, so too is life about to change for Ben. The things he took for granted, like warm biscuits, fall dances, and a best friend who lived just down the street, would soon become cherished memories. His life and the lives of those around him was about to take some unimaginable turns down roads he would never have chosen. Hi there, folks. Thank you for joining me here on the porch. Hasn't it been fun listening to Chapter 1 of Journey into Darkness, The Gathering Storm, and getting to know Ben and Mrs. Okura and the Jameson family? You'll find that as you listen to this story, it's a wonderful story. These characters will bring happiness to your soul. That's how I feel about it. But you know, if you just can't wait to get on with this, you can find these books on Amazon. They're there for you right now. However, guess what? We have just for you, all ready and primed and waiting, back on the porch. You can join me for Chapter 2.